Hey guys, so today I've actually got the boy James Hansen here with me on a video. This is going to
Whoa.
be a bit of a more casual kind of video, but at the same time a very informative one. So I thought that I would go out of my way to get the boy himself to come and join me because this video is rather important. And the benefit to this video is basically that we can give you all the news, all the stuff you want to know, not mislead you, and you'll actually hear it from the best sources possible when it comes to Bleach news. So James, welcome to the channel. How are you doing today?
Hi, Clyde. It's been a while. It's always fun to jump in these kind of calls and actually drop some of the facts, the figures, and the truth from the actual two reliable people in the community. I think it's time we just jump into it, mate. To be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought it would be a good idea to just sit down and make a video with James in relation to all of the news in regards to the Bleach anime, because we have talked about it like plenty of times. James has covered pretty much everything that you would need to know, but I thought if we make like a really direct video about this, all the people that are dying for any sort of news can just come to us. They'll hear it directly from us, and they'll actually know like literally the details, which most people can't normally find, because back before the anime was even officially announced, we were on the ball with this. Like, we basically went so far that we were willing to pay some leakers that we were friends with just to get news.
It was such a stressful time.
It was, because at the time of doing this, it was basically at a stage where we were pretty much saying to each other, we're like, if this doesn't come back in the next year or two, like, what are the odds of it returning? Because it just didn't make sense. Like, we knew the sales, we knew the figures, we knew the popularity. Bleach was selling much better than other series which got adaptations when it actually, stopped airing on the anime and in the manga, right? When those ended, we were like, wait, this doesn't really make sense as to why it hasn't come back yet. And as we looked into it, there was a lot more complicated things going on behind the scenes in
And
regards
we
to...
knew lots of licenses too, but nobody was telling us anything. So like, me and Clyde were just like, you know what? Let's just get the information we need. Let's put money on the table. Let's try and get the actual evidence and the source about what is going on.
We pretty much were going to go to the extent of like essentially paying like a private investigator. We're like, come on. All right, and I don't mean that literally. I'm saying the leaker was basically the PI in this in this instance, and we were like, all right, come on, like we're willing to pay. Can you just get us any information? And they came back to us, and at the time they sort of said no, but we had heard from other people too, and even him, that there was sort of like little things lingering, but nothing specific.
Always whispers in the wind.
Yeah. Real vague stuff, and I did make a video where I went to James. This was probably 2 years ago. And I was like, all right, let me make like a really highly edited video on all the news and give me all the stuff that you've got. And it blew up because I tried to give him like the best stuff we had at the time. But since then, the anime has been announced and people want to know what is going on. Because although we had the announcement, last year back in March and things were super exciting, they've sort of been quiet in regards to the anime specifically. So today we're going to run through every single thing that you want to know. And James, if you want to start off the video, what is going to happen with the Bleach anime when it comes to censorship? Because people are very curious about how a war arc, which in the manga is actually rather gory for a shonen, how's it going to look in the anime?
Well, imagine having the 1,000-year Blood War arc and then having it completely censored, even though it says Blood War in the title itself. So, you'd be very happy to know that it has been confirmed by the big man himself, Mr. Kubo Sensei, that there will be normal. Granted, the person that asked the question on his fan page did ask specifically about anime milkers, but because of that, it was actually confirmed to us that because it's going to have a late night time slot, that the censorship shouldn't really be an issue, and it should be towards its original depiction. So good news on that front for a midnight time slot.
Yeah, that's really good to hear because, as you just said, Blood War, it's a war arc. We've seen what it looks like in the manga. It would be a shame if it was censored. The original Bleach actually was censored quite a bit. Now, if you did go to the extent of buying specific DVD releases of the anime, you could see the, uncensored versions, but generally speaking, to find the uncensored ones online is borderline impossible unless you pay for it. So that sort of sucks, but it's good to hear that they're actually being smart about this, and it is being actually put on a proper time slot, which means we can enjoy the experience as much as possible in the most authentic way. So that's awesome to hear. Now, as for the time slot though, where is it going? Like, what time is it actually going to be shown?
It can be anywhere between like 11 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning. That's where the midnight time slot kind of hits around that. We're looking at like maybe One Punch Man's old time slot, which was 1 a.m. So, something decent, something. I think Attack on Titan also had a 1 to 2 a.m. time slot as well. So we're looking at something pretty moderately decent, with a good. I think Berserk was as well, but we don't talk about Berserk.
Yeah, at least with those 3 series, we know they were all relatively gory, so that speaks about how Bleach is going to be shown, hopefully, so that's good. So, what about this? There is going to be quite a lot of production put into the Bleach anime, because they have been quite vocal when they did the whole original, showcase of the anime being announced. They did say, hey, don't worry, it's going to be treated really well. We're actually taking this super serious. There will be a lot of things allocated to the production.
Put your faith in Nakano-san, he's coming through with the clutch.
Always been, telling us that, keep supporting Bleach. He was sort of like hinting like something's coming.
It's been in the making for a long time, obviously, by how he speaks, yeah.
So tell them how long and why this is so important, because I know that's something you were super worried about, over a year ago. You're like, all right, as long as it's produced long enough and it's it's got time put into it, you'll be happy. So tell the audience like what that means.
Well, so far, so sure, it looks like it's going to have a 2-year production, and chances are pre-production probably has been longer than that as well, so even more than 2 years. I think even me and you discussed about Shiro Sagasu actually popping over to Germany just before COVID really was a problem, and was kind of spectating on what that was about, because it was nothing to do with Ava. So that was really interesting. So pre-production's obviously important, because obviously the anime director, whoever it is, obviously has to choose the staff members, has to make sure that he's got some key animators, has to make sure he's spending the budget correctly, do the storyboarding, X, Y, and Z. Cool. A 2-year production is really good too, because chances are this tells me that they're not rushing it, they're taking their time with it, they're making sure they've got the talent. And by far, because there has been no leaks about the anime, it seems that they haven't really outsourced it, which is a big problem when it comes to leaks. It usually comes from outsourcers. So it seems to be very much in-house for now. And again, because that is the case, it seems like there's probably a lot of talent. Or even if there isn't talent straight away, they've waited a specific amount of time to have talent on. So say, for example, you want Masashi Kudo back on the scene, but he's working on another series for like 3 months. They've got the time to wait and pre-book him in advance. So I think that's generally the mindset going into it. Because Bleach is such a big series that people want to come back, it's a very highly anticipated show. And any animator that has that on their portfolio to get ahead in terms of advancement for their animation career, having Bleach on your resume is going to be huge. So I'm 100% sure that a lot of people are putting in their interest towards Bleach, like key animators, a lot of directors, a lot of sound designers. They're probably all going in there, so they're making sure it's done right. So I'm very excited in terms of how much time and effort is going into this, and a 2-year production is amazing, because the average production is around about 7 months, with usually 3 months pre-planning. For example, Dragon Ball Super was 2 months pre-production and production as well. They kind of did it at the same time. You know how that turned out at the start. Not exactly great. One Punch Man Season 2 had 7 months of pre-production. And Attack on Titan had 7 months as well. Maybe a smidgen bit more. But if that goes anything for comparison, a 2-year production seems to be very interesting and fascinating to see how that will turn out.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that you covered all of that to put emphasis on how important it is that the longer the production, the more perfect this is going to be, because, so, I remember hearing, actually before the, official leak did come out, do you remember that we were told on the sly that Bleach was going to have a very specific budget, and that what was planned for it was, like, really big? Do you remember that?
Yeah. It was 250,000 to 400,000 per episode, which was actually released quite recently by an animator. That is actually now the standard, and Bleach is, let's just say, in the higher region of that budget per episode. Maybe on the terms of maybe close to Demon Slayers.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because that's what the person said to us. They actually said that the comparison, basically the person we were talking to, which will not be named, but they did give us news back then. They said to us very specifically that the budget was going to be very good for Bleach. This is even before the announcement, again. And they said that a good comparison for the amount of work that should go into Bleach is very comparable to Demon Slayer. Now, whether it's going to look perfectly as good as Demon Slayer, we don't know, but he did say to us specifically that, hey, it's going to be taken care of. And then, Nakano come out and said the same thing during the whole reveal, which was really, that was very comforting to know as a Bleach fan that, hey, it's been a long time, we've been kept in the dark, but it's being taken care of.
Precisely, yeah. Yeah, and just because you have like a big budget doesn't mean a show is going to look good. However, because the production has been so long with that big of a budget, it tells me that they're actually taking their time to hire.
Exactly, because some people don't actually know, but you don't like just throw money into a machine and then an anime just pops out of it like it's a, like a bread maker. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, it's like, as James said, think about it like this, guys. If you're bad at drawing, now think about how good these artists are that work at these studios. Now, imagine how stressful it is to do the drawings that they have to do, and they have to make it move with sound, with voice acting, with all these different other effects and stuff which get put into it, right? The more time they have, the more they can make it perfect. So that's the thing. The more time these animators have, the more they can show off their talents. It's as simple as that. So having more time is a very reassuring thing, and I'm super excited about that. And as you mentioned before, I'd like to just clarify this before we move on to the next point. So as for Shiro Sagasu, the original OST composer for Bleach, we do believe that he's going to be a part of it. Now, I'm not sure if you know if he really is going to be, but we're fairly sure he is, because he did go on sort of like this trip to Germany, once again, to basically scout out locations and get a feel for the country itself, to obviously come up for OSTs for the Quincy's, who are based off of Germans, obviously. So with that being said, we know that he isn't doing this for Evangelion, because that's sort of like been wrapped up for quite a long time now. So the only assumption is that he went over there to, scout locations and get a feel for, the Quincy's. So again, we don't know for certain if he's going to be a part of it, but we're fairly sure that he is, which is reassuring, because I kind of like his music a lot, and it definitely does set the tone for Bleach, so that's exciting.
And even if not, like, the music is licensed anyway, so they can be reused. So, even if he's not involved.
That's true. I'd really love to see him do some remixes of, you remember how, like, with every major arc, he would sort of come up with, like, a new version of Ichigo's theme, or something cool for the movies,
yeah.
so...
I love Chokaku. Amazing OST for number one, but yeah.
I'd love to see what he's got, planned, especially, for the war arc, which is obviously going to be such a serious arc, but... So here's another thing we just discussed, Shiro Sagasu's involvement. What about the author, Mr. Kubo? What's his involvement going to be, to your understanding?
It is seemingly implied by his daily journal, so to say, on his fan club, that he has been involved very heavily within meetings, not only with Burn Witch, but with Bleach itself, meetings about the exposition, meetings about Bleach's future. But because of these meetings, and the sheer number of meetings he's been into, it can be very self-implied that he's working on the anime, and having his 2 cents within it. So what about potential movies and novels, art stuff in general, sort of revolving around Bleach in general? Let's start with BBS, Bleach Bro Souls. They have recently announced that they're doing Spirits Forever With You, which is a light novel talking about basically the 8th Kenpachi, or well, the Kenpachis in general, including the first. I think it's important to talk about this license that Bleach Bro Souls has just recently gotten, the animation that they're going to be doing for these characters, because I generally do see, because they've got animation, because they're going to have voice actors for it too, which aren't cheap, they're going to have artwork, blah, 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 that's going to be potentially a movie or OVAs later on down the road. For example, like the Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 0, I think is going to be adapted into a movie. Shueisha wants a longevity with Bleach, and anything revolving any Bleach content, I think they're going to really milk, including, I even think, Can't Feel Your Own World, which is Tokinada and Hikone basically 6 months after the 1000-year Blood War arc, and then eventually maybe Rukia's wedding too. And then we've got a 10-year time skip like Dragon Ball Super as well, so they'll probably do things in between that as well. So I generally do see some stuff for like a data book, more novels and art stuff like that as well, because generally, as the Bleach anime is going to be going, we're looking at like the 25th anniversary happening in between that, so they're going to have more announcements for that anniversary as well. So even if we look at it from a minimalist perspective, we could have something as little as a data book, or even something as big as a movie. So having the light novels and etc. Are kind of relevant in this case scenario, and BBS being a good example of that. What do you think, Clyde?
Yeah, I think it's a good point that you mentioned the data book stuff, because we're not 100% sure if we're ever going to get one, but the very fact that you mentioned the anniversary is actually, most likely we will, because they usually do stuff like that during big anniversaries, whether it's like those, the big Bleach art books they've done in the past, like special events and stuff. They're sort of aware, at least to my understanding, when it comes to us tweeting at Viz, like a year or so ago. They sort of did take note of it, so Hopefully, Viz maybe pass that along and they're like, hey, people in the West and stuff, they kind of want those books because they find them interesting. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it does happen. But as Jaymes said, if there is another time for a data book which covers the war arc, which is something that hardly has been covered with data books, especially like the old Souls book, the Unmasked one, and Masked, etc., which are very detailed books, we haven't really had a good one for the war arc. So hopefully that happens. As for a movie, 100%, I can see that happening. I'm sure Jaymes does too. You fully believe
absolutely.
that. I would say, because of how serious the war arc is, we could get a couple things. We could get like a special where basically we get like, you remember how One Piece used to do those episodes where they would spend like an hour doing like some sort of special story, which, was dedicated like that.
Yeah, those little side stories. And they call it like the episode of Luffy or like the episode of Nami or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like when he fought that guy, which could multiply his speed by 100 times and, all that stuff. I don't recall exactly what it was, but...
that was like the time skip or something, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, it was like in between there. So I could see that potentially happening for some stuff in the war, but I 100%, if that doesn't happen, I 100% see an actual Bleach movie coming once the war arc has concluded, because Shonen Jump loves money, and it would be pretty dumb to not do a Bleach movie, and holy crap, it would look beautiful. Like, I can imagine how good that would look, just hypothetically speaking. So that's something to look forward to too. And again, we should get things like, more source material from Kubo, more novels, data book,
And as the recording of this video too, Shonen Jump only have 3 animes that are currently airing at the moment, being Boruto, One Piece, and My Hero. They literally don't have many series in their magazine right now that's even reached 100 chapters, so this is just a safe way as well for them to keep getting in a lot of merchandising money as well as anime money as well, to have Bleach as, a longevity series to rely on in a sense as secondary income.
So I have 2 other things we should, sort of put light on. 1, will the fights be longer, and will the novels get turned into the anime? Because these are 2 questions that I get asked about probably every time I stream.
Will the novels be adapted? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. I can't see why not. Can't Feel Your Own World it can be a very quick filler arc in a sense, if you want to class it as a filler arc in its own sense. I think they'll do a lot of stuff in between the 10-year time skip as a whole. I don't think we'll rush to it. That's a big opportunity and a moneymaker. Will the fights be longer? Absolutely. You've got to remember that back in the day, if you was around in 2012 to 2013, Kubo said that this arc was going to be longer than the Aranka arc, which was 7 years. Unfortunately, due to his health, it only lasted 4 years. So there's lots of things that Kubo has planned out, a lot of drafts, a lot of concepts that he didn't want to do. He talked about, increasing Yoruichi and Kisuke's relationship that never got to get drawn. And also, he spoke about something he wanted to do with Rukia quite recently too. So, without a shadow of a doubt, fights, are they going to get extended? Of course they are. Absolutely. Especially with towards the end of the arc as well, without a doubt. But yeah, there's lots of in-canon filler and a lot of extended fights that are going to be drawn and animated. And it's going to be really interesting to see where that's going to go.
Yeah, to touch on the fight part too, like, it's not like it has to be some sort of conspiracy thing. Like, if you just watch Naruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, every anime, they always add in extra choreography to the fights. And because they want to keep hitting benchmark after benchmark and surprising the fans, just like how even Boruto does, once in a blue moon with their crazy fights, of course Bleach is going to have extended fights. Of course there's going to be stuff added in by the author. He has said on record that he is actually excited to work alongside Bleach again, because didn't he say that he kind of got bored? Like, that he didn't have anything to do once the manga had concluded and he sort of like dealt with his health problems, so...
No, he actually believes that people got bored of Bleach and that they would forget about it, which goes to show how humble Kubo actually is.
Mm-hmm. But I do recall, didn't he say that he didn't have much to do in his spare time, so he was very happy to be a part of it when they did say that? Wasn't that something that was said?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He didn't have any plans for it to continue, and he thought he was done. He thought that was it.
Yep, shows you how much he was shafted, not just in the industry, but,
No, of course, yeah.
The general thoughts. And I'm sure those interactions he had on Twitter years ago, back in the old days of Bleach, would have left a bad taste in his mouth. And it's a shame that, that did affect him in some way, because, where there's bad fans, there are so many more that were just begging for it to come back.
Absolutely,
and, especially us, Jesus. But, yeah, again, so if you're excited about, the novels getting turned into the anime, it'll happen. And also, if it's done by Period and Madhouse, as we believe, Period likes to do this thing where they milk anime, like, quite a lot. And if you watch Naruto Shippuden as a fan of it, like, you were probably like, yo, I don't really need to see what Shikamaru's favorite time to take a is. Like, did you really have to add that in to extend the anime? And yeah, they like to do that, so that's promising at least. And then as for the fights, again, every anime does this, and considering the situation that Bleach is in, it's a no-brainer. Of course, it would be so hyped to see things like, you know, Yuha Bark versus Ichibei be extended longer than it is, or Kenpachi versus basically anybody, Yamamoto's fight, you know, all of Ichigo's will get stuff added to it.
Hello, the 1,000-Year Blood War past arc, hello, like, yeah, they can, there's so much lore that they can throw in, and because, you know, the 1,000-Year Blood War is completed from start to finish, the director has so much free creative ability to foreshadow, to hint at things, to throw little Easter eggs in there. And again, like, there's so much about the war we don't actually know. So Kubo could actually, you know, give that arc to us, essentially. So that'd be really fun.
Exactly. It's good that you mentioned the fact that the manga is completed too, because I get asked this question a lot, and I'm sure you do too, and it really, really annoys me. Listen very clearly to all the people in the audience, and I'm not saying this to talk down my nose to my subscribers or to any of you that are new to my channel. I'm saying this to the people who just don't have a clue about what they're talking about, okay? And they love to spout nonsense. There is going to be no filler in Bleach. And I'll tell you why. The manga is done. Back in the old days, the reason they had filler in anime is because the anime would catch up to the manga, and then they would run out of material to turn into the anime. Therefore, you'd either have to go on a break or make a filler arc. Or, in One Piece's example, you start adapting the anime with one chapter, which means the pacing is absolutely, you know, like, you'd rather watch paint dry. It's that bad at some stages, you know? It's good now.
In One Piece, there's loads of fights that didn't actually happen in the manga, and that's because Oda wanted to give the anime staff some content for them to, you know, kind of bridge that gap. So, you know, even if there is filler, quote unquote, that isn't in the manga, when you watch the anime, it will be classified as canon.
That's the thing. It won't even technically be filler. It'll be canon stuff that the author has added in. So when people say that too, like trust me, there ain't gonna be no like bound arc or anything like that that's gonna get added into the war. Like, it would ruin the pacing and it would just not fit. But what you will get, if they do add in stuff that constitutes quote unquote filler, it will be canon material, which the author was like, yeah, I probably should have, you know, made a more thorough backstory here. Maybe the fight should have been longer here. Maybe this character here should have had a fight. Like, maybe we see more Shuhei fights, or, you know, Kira or whatever, like characters like that. You know, that'd be cool. So,
but due to time constraints, he probably couldn't do it. So, like, the anime is a perfect example to do those things.
He also has gone on record saying in the past that he has had, like, plans for characters, like, say, in the past, Grimmjow was supposed to have a more fleshed out backstory, which never happened. You know, he said that about other situations too. So, once more, to give you all reassurance, it's not going to get ruined by filler. There is, like, literally no need for it to have the kind of filler which existed back in, like, 2005, which they don't do anymore. Like, they know it's not popular. They know it hurts anime. They don't do that stuff anymore nowadays. And if they do it, it usually gets a lot of bad reception, so they try to avoid it. But you can take over.
Yeah, the last time I heard about something like that was Black Clover had a in-canon filler that the studio did, and even though the author worked on them with it, they still interjected a little bit, which made the author quite angry and distressed about, which was, you know, releasing a move that a character did that wasn't supposed to be shown yet. But that's the only backlash I've really heard. And then if you want to class The Promised Neverland Season 2, that was done in from its announcement anyway. So
oh, that was sad. That was sad. Tokyo Ghoul too. That's an example of it getting ruined. Yeah.
But again, these series were going on as they were being animated anyway.
Yes.
So and from the get go, when season 1 was airing, the director did also say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go on our own spin on this." Nakano's basically said, the chief and editor of Jump has literally said, no, this will be the best it can be and something the fans are going to love, and it's going to keep to the original. So don't worry about filler.
Thank God. Yeah, 100%. Like, we're not going to be having any situations where, you know, like the Toriyama situation where he came out and he's like, hey, Toei, what the are you doing with Dragon Ball Super? Like, that's not going to happen, hopefully. So, you know, fingers crossed. But yeah, it should be good. No filler. It's gonna be really good. So I'm definitely looking forward to that being a thing. Now, Another thing which people get excited about. Will it be weekly or seasonal? Now, going off what we said, I believe it's going to be seasonal because things like My Hero and, what else has been seasonal? Attack on Titan, that's been really successful.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yep.
Yeah. It seems like that's the route now, and Black Clover, I think, was the test of that, and I don't think they can... I mean, they could possibly do it, but technically My Hero is technically ongoing, except they release the episode seasonally, because they still work on it, even if the season's finished. We was told back in the day that it was going to be seasonal. I kind of hope that it is, actually. I think take your time with it, make sure it's the best product you can get out there, and... don't be rushed by time constraints, because, an animator could die, an animator could get sick, we could have these pandemics again, you don't know, so I think seasonal is probably its best, I think it's the best place to go.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too, because they get to spend more time doing it. It doesn't get rushed weekly. There's no time constraint problems where, dudes are rushing to work to finish that last episode and they're stressed as fuck. And then also, as the season comes out, they just begin working on the next one straight away. So it just makes things so much more efficient, and it doesn't stress the animators out as much because they get to perfect it and treat it basically more like a movie rather than a weekly shonen, which, we know how stressful that can be for the animators.
And you can have a movie in between that too, just like they did with Demon Slayer or even with Jujutsu Kaisen coming up. You can have many things in between in terms of marketability as well, so like OVAs and whatnot. Unless you want to do something like have the Blood War as a continuously weekly thing, and then when we get to after the Blood War, then go seasonal. I'd understand that too. I think that would be a good move as well. So I'm happy with either or.
Yeah. Again, it's, nothing's necessarily confirmed, but it does seem like, given the situation and everything that we've heard, that it will be, seasonal, not weekly. It just wouldn't make sense. It's like, why do it that way? It's like you're doing it the harder way. You're stressing out the animators. It's not efficient to make a good, a good season of a series which has been, wanted for a very, very long time. And obviously, you want, it's like with that video game quote, a rush game's always going to be remembered as a bad game, but one that's delayed and turned into a good one will be remembered as a good game. So hopefully that happens. But once more, most likely seasonal. Another thing though, will there be video games? Because we know some certain things about that, but you got anything you want to say specifically to the audience?
I'll just use a bit of common sense in terms of that. Every anime that usually comes out usually follows it with an anime game. Look at Berserk, video game after its announcement. Boku no Hero, video game after its announcement. One Punch Man, video game after its announcement. Every series that you can maybe think of will get a video game. Demon Slayer, it's because it just makes sense. The Shueisha want products out there, merchandise, and games are just part and parcel of that. So, common sense, sure. Do we know things? Sure.
Yeah, the Berserk point's probably the best one because that anime, this is the recent one we're talking about, the CGI mess. The game wasn't bad. I bought it. It was okay. It's
actually pretty good.
Yeah, it actually was. It looks good. It was repetitive. It was a hack and slash. Whatever, it is what it is. But the fact of the matter is, realistically speaking, Berserk is not as popular as Bleach is, nor does it sell as well as Bleach does, and it got a game alongside that garbage anime. So, using your brains, you'd assume, well, Bleach is going to get one, which it definitely will. Come on, Demon Slayer got one.
Absolutely.
Black Clover got one.
Even stuff like Quintuplet's got a date in sim game for the PS Vita or an Android game.
Bro,
so it's
you remember that Seven Deadly Sins PS4 game? That was garbage.
Yep. Oh, and Black Clover got one when that got announced as well. Black Clover had one. They both flopped, but
that One Punch Man game, that was.
It's terrible, but hey, even if it's a cash grab, you're gonna get a game regardless. So it's up to you whether you want to support it, I suppose. But yeah.
Also, you'll probably get a couple games. Bleach Brave Souls has been moved to console, which is a really good thing to see. That's a positive thing, and it's bringing in lots of money. But you'll probably get a few different games as the anime comes out because obviously it's going to be popular. It's in that same sort of market field as what Naruto was, so they're going to want to capitalize on it. And we have seen hints for the past 5 or so years that the people at CC2 have wanted to make a Bleach game for a long time, and they did specifically make the director of that company made very, very specific hints. He's like, hey, if you want a game, we'll do it, but you got to tell Bandai Namco. So, eventually we should probably get one from them, which would be one.
I think, Clyde, that after this video drops, we should make a tweet and get everyone to go retweet it to let Bandai know what we want.
We definitely will. So let me just say this. So if that company was to make a Bleach game, it would be the safest option for Bleach because the engine's really good. They could do a good story mode, and the online would be fun. So what we're gonna do, and it's going to be linked in the description below alongside, all the other stuff, which is always down there. Go to that tweet, which we've made, give it a like, give it a retweet, and tell Bandai Namco that you want CC2 to make a Bleach game. Now, let me say this. I know that there are other companies which you may want to make a Bleach game, but trust me on this. They are going to be the safest option. They actually care about Bleach, and if that game sells well, we will get more of them. Plus, we will also get other Bleach games from different companies, and we might get like a 2D fighting game, which would be similar to Fighter Z, or a Tekken style one, all that, basically the side-on fighting, right? You'll get a game like that.
It doesn't have to be a Storm game either. It could be a Kakarot type game. It could be anything. CC2 are very diverse in what they can do.
Exactly.
So,
now, I think obviously we want the Storm one because we want the replayability with the online, but at the end of the day, we want a Bleach game regardless because it hasn't had a good it actually hasn't even had a console game since Soul Resurrection. So go to that tweet, give it a like, give it a retweet, reply to it, like tell them physically, type it on there and just tell them you want a game because they do pay attention. Like they paid attention when we roasted them over the Jump Force character selection. So please, for the love of God, just go and let them know, right? We want them to succeed and we want them to make a Bleach game. So go support that tweet. As for that though, another thing. Will the ending be different to the manga?
Define.
So do you believe that they'll change certain things like flesh out some of the ending, which you can obviously feel that once it gets to like those final 10 chapters, when Shonen Jump said that Kubo has a certain amount of time to wrap it up, you can feel that the tone of the series has a very accelerated feeling because it's obviously like, all right, Kubo's just wrapping it up at this stage. And, he has, he said it himself, it was meant to go for much longer. The health problems were getting too bad. Do you think that with him working alongside the studio, that'll give us probably not only just a better, more fleshed out ending, but maybe like an iconic, nice end to it? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I do. And when I did my video on this, I think people misinterpreted the title because no, if you want your Ichiruki ending, no, that's not what we mean by will the ending be different.
Thank God.
What we mean is that will it be interpreted differently than what we experienced in the manga? And in turn, yes, because obviously they're going to flesh things out, they're going to explain things better, it's going to flow better, the lead up and the build up will be better, because obviously, as you just said, Kubo, obviously wanted this to go longer, so there'll be a lot more context, and it won't be as rushed as the manga will. So yes, the ending will be different in terms of the manga, but the results will stay the same.
Agreed. It'll generally be the same ending, but things like certain fights near the end of the series may be longer. We may see an ending where the Royal Guard are handled a little bit better, which would be nice. But that, again, it does depend on what Kubo really wants. But common sense-wise and how popular it's going to be, I definitely see there being changes. It's, again, the actual end will, the ending goal will still be the same. But things will be fleshed out a bit more. That's what I believe too. Yeah, and the fact that we know that Kubo will be involved is sort of a guarantee when it comes to that. So, I guess another thing too. Where would they have to go to hypothetically support the anime as it releases? Like let's say this video is still up in a year or so and the anime is coming out. Like what's the best avenue for them to support it so that the animators get money and they see that it's successful?
Yeah. Absolutely. The only thing I can say is that when the anime comes back, always support it from its direct source, even if you can't understand it and there's no English subtitles. Go buy the Blu-ray box sets when they come out, and that's like on, amazon.co.jp. You can go find them there, or you can go on Zen Market and request to get some Jump Store merch, or some other novelties that you may not be able to get in the US or in the UK or even in Europe. So those are free. Two simple sites that you can use, and support Bleach directly rather than from the licensors, because with all due respect, they kind of do a bit of a shoddy job. So
Agreed.
Go there. Yeah.
Yeah, also, I'd like you guys to do something too. So when you support the Bondi tweet, go give us both a follow on Twitter, which will be linked below, because if, let's say something comes out in relation to the best way to support Bleach financially, right? We'll show that on Twitter, and we'll also tweet when we get news ASAP, because Jaymes will hear about stuff before anybody else, and I know that for a fact because we had information that nobody else except dudes who actually work in the industry knew about at that time. You know, we got clowned on for a lot of stuff that sort of was, it was things where basically we knew that it was going to happen, but then stuff would change on the fly, or we were given faulty information by people that we ended up cutting off. But generally speaking, we were pretty much on the nose with a lot of this stuff, and we really did have sources which other people didn't have. And we did call it, we said it was going to happen, so trust us. Give us a follow on Twitter, support our tweets. We will tweet when there is stuff that, you know, is coming out basically straight away, which no one knows about. And again, if you want to find a way to support the anime, you will find it from us straight away. But yeah, just go give us a follow, support that tweet. And a final thing, which I'd like to talk about, which is probably the best part of this, is when are we going to get a trailer? Because I can't wait to physically see this arc actually in movement. Like, finally, we get to see it move.
Best till last. Right, so seeing as the Bleach Expo is in December and Jump Festa is probably a few days or a few weeks after it, it seems like they're putting a lot of Bleach events close together. So, if we don't have a poster, a visual poster, by then chances are we will have a visual poster by Jump Festa. Then followed a few months later in Anime Japan for a PV, because that's usually how it goes. You get a PV not long after the poster has been shown. Or we could have both. Who knows? But you're looking at Jump Festa or Anime Japan, which is December or March. So, not long to wait, guys. It's coming quicker than you expect. And, it's going to be a mad one.
Yeah,
because, yeah, the anticipation, the anxiety of whether it will look good depends on that key visual and that PV. So, you know,
it felt like it was never going to happen, but we did always feel like it would. Like, common sense prevailed, thank God. And, you know, it's very hard to know what's going on in Japan because they do business very weird and they also don't speak English. So we were in probably the worst situation ever to be a fan of something when it comes to waiting for it to return. But with that being said, guys, it'll be out very soon. You'll see what's going to happen. But anyway, before I end off this video, I would like to say, for the love of God, please stop supporting these random spam channels which don't know a single thing about what's actually going on with Bleach. Like, please, just trust us. We know stuff first. We will give it to you first. Support our Twitter, which is linked in the description below. We both have a Twitter account. Follow both of them. Go subscribe to Jaymes. He's always uploading Bleach-related stuff, whether it's a normal Bleach video or Bleach news, so go support his channel. And, again, don't listen to these random channels that are in your recommended section. They are only trying to clickbait you. We've tried to go through...
Especially Instagram.
Yeah. Instagram and Facebook, they don't know anything. Like, trust us on that. This isn't us trying to, like, you know, be like, oh, we're just hating on dudes smaller than us or whatever. That's not the point. We really just don't want you guys to be misled by these people who are opportunists. So, yeah, just support our videos. Support this video. Hopefully you learned something from this. If there's any more news, you'll hear it from us first. So, again, subscribe to Jaymes. Follow us on Twitter. Thank you for coming on, Jaymes. I hope you enjoyed this little collab we did.
I appreciate it. And I just want to say as well, if you do hear any Bleach news at all, and you come to our channels and we haven't spoken about it, or we haven't tweeted about it, chances are it's very rumoured or whispered in the wind, or completely false.
If you've found something that's legitimate before we have, you have found, like, a golden leaker. Yeah, trust us on that. Like, we would have heard about it. But, yeah, anyway, if you want to close off your final part.
But of course, with that being said, I do want to say, please like the video. It is important because the bigger this video gets, the more it tells us that you like these type of videos. And I'm pretty sure, just like Clyde, I would love to do another video with Clyde, whether on my channel or his channel, to talk about any upcoming Bleach news, whether it's doing a reaction to the PV, whether it's just some big, massive, you know, event that's going on. We'll always be here to talk about it with you guys, or give you a roundup like on this video. So please hit that like button. It is very important to let us know that you like this. But with that being said, thank you for having me on, Clyde. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. It's a fun video, and I'm glad we got to tell everybody all the information that, you know, we have. So if you've ever wanted to ask us a question, you've heard everything here. So anyway, guys, follow our social media below. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.